Okay, hopefully this works. This works this time because I don't know. It did the it's happened a few times before. Streamlat I would click on a sorry for the delay for anyone coming in. Yeah, there we go. We're in the right location. There we go. Hold on. Let me send out the correct one. Um there we go. I think we've got it. I think we've got it. I don't know. Still holding it. It's I think I'm live on this one. I think I'm live on this one. So I'll be able to hold on. Having some technical issues, some guys, sorry. I don't know why I'm multi-streaming, but hold on. Hold on. Am I multi-streaming by accident? I think I'm live on this one. I think I'm Yeah, I'm multi-streaming on accident. There we go. Okay. That previous stream is over. Um yeah, that one was incorrect. Well, I can hear you. Okay. Can you see my can you see when I do this? I can see your PNG. Okay. Okay, I think we're in the right location right now. Okay, I think we're fixed. I'll go and delete that screwed up VOD later. Let me post this. And hold on. Uh, there we go. Fine, it's finally up and running. Okay, I see Twitter on stream. Okay, yeah. You're in the right place. You're in the right place, Isaac. But anyways, so I guess starting off was I guess maybe you wouldn't expect me to have this kind of interest for a while. I've mentioned it a few times in the past. Um, I guess it's ironic that I became this major film and movie buff today, like really interested in movies and cinema today because when I was a little kid, I was easily afraid of stuff and I had somehow developed this concept misconception that all movies would be scary of some kind, like all movies were scary movies or whatever, and as such there were only a few movies I would watch. Eventually my parents coaxed me to go to the theater with them, and that was I saw Up, and then I think one of the first live action movies I saw in theaters was Avengers 2012. At the time, when how old was I? I think I was 9 years old at that time. I don't know. It took a while for me to get interested in movies, but it's in full swing at the moment. It's in full swing now, and I think that left quite an impression on me. And as a result, ironically, despite me not bringing it up that often, I feel like I am like I'm not a comics guy. Felix afraid. Felix fears nothing. Just an FYI, nothing has changed since from when you wanted to start stream initially. So I don't know what you thought was wrong. So excuse me the holding bit. It was multi-streaming to a it was multi-streaming to I think I screwed up the stream key somehow. It was multi-streaming to a stream key that I wasn't supposed to be looking at. I wasn't supposed to be streaming to. Streamlabs made a mistake. But anyway, overall, um, I was never really interested in the comics. I briefly checked them out when I was a little kid in like Barnes and Noble when my mom was browsing magazines. I got a hold of an Avengers comic, but it wasn't an MCU related one. So it wasn't an MCU related one, so I wasn't really as interested because it didn't tie into the wider story. Overall, yeah, I don't seem to be the kind of person who's um a cape slop fan, a cape shit fan, because well, because as a little kid, my dad raised me up on like DC a little bit because he's a DC fan, and I grew up watching Superman movies but like when I was still like a little kid afraid to go to the theaters. But He put on the Superman movies for me, and it was like, and that was I guess in my own way, I'm not necessarily there for the for the whole necessary cape shit thing. I'm there for good stories. I don't know. I explained that I'm not entirely the biggest fan of superhero media as a whole, and when it comes to, because I don't like, as I mentioned earlier, I don't like The Boys, I don't like Watchmen or that kind of thing. If someone creates an original comic universe, in general, I have no real interest in it unless it's put to screen. And on screen, and I'm there to watch the movie. I'm there to watch. I'm there to watch a movie most of the time. And if it's a good movie, it's a good movie. Even though I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan, I did enjoy the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man. And oh, Batman is based for real. Opinion of the next Netflix Daredevil show. I'm not watching it, unfortunately. I'm not I don't keep up with that. I don't keep up with the Netflix shows. I did for, I guess, leading into this, I did watch the, I don't do it anymore. Um I did post Endgame, I did get into the one of, just one, which was Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is why I admire the character now. Going into that, riding off the high from Endgame, I was because everyone was still hyped for whatever Marvel had at the moment. It wasn't this little sort of shit show. Everyone's coming out with really bad stories. Everyone's coming out with really bad scripts. And I was very excited. At the end of that, I was very excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier because those two, unironically, were my favorite characters in the MCU at the time. I like the Captain America series. That was, I think, probably my favorite series of the MCU besides the Iron Man movies. But like Civil War and Winter Soldier are what I consider the best actual. I like, not just because, oh, this one has the best, this one introduced this character, this one introduced this character. The best, like, movies for movies' sake, like, as movies, like, not necessarily it's an event like Endgame or Infinity War, or it's an event like The Avengers or whatever. As an actual movie in and of itself, Civil War and Winter Soldier are the two best in the entire MCU, followed by maybe Doctor Strange. So I guess you can kind of tell where my opinions lie on most of what comes out of it. What about Dread? I mean, it's from a comic series. Thompson, you're gonna hate me for this. I haven't seen the Carl Urban Dread. Well, I haven't seen the Sylvester Stallone Dread either. But I prefer the Sylvester Stallone Dread to the Carl Urban Dread. So I guess that's my even more controversial opinion on anything in the MCU. I'm more familiar with the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd than the Carl Urban Dredd. Winter Soldier and Congress is in the most recent stuff. Yeah, it feels sort of contrived, right? It's weird. Why does I remember where is it? Where's that guy?
Well,
Little
America.
Oh, ignore that. Ignore my VTuber simping. Little Platoon. From Little Platoon, this guy. I remember he called out like in this video. I'm not gonna like watch it or anything. I might look at some other videos to back up my points later. He mentioned directly, yeah, Bucky killed JFK. Why are we allowing him in Congress? He's like, he killed X number of people. He killed Howard Stark. He probably killed any number of famous people in his past as the Winter Soldier. Why are we allowing him to Congress? How did he get those votes? What the fuck is he doing? What is he even campaigning on? And that sort of thing, because it's wild. Why would he, like, it's out of character, in my opinion. Yeah, I get it that he's supposed to, like, get over his trauma of being the Winter Soldier. Why is he running for Congress? Why are they leaning into that? I guess they're like, maybe they're trying to semi-politicize. It's already politicized to all hell, but leading directly into in-universe politics, it's like, why? Why would you do that? He killed Kennedy in the MCU universe. He was under Hydra Kami mind control. Yeah, because something I feel like is really It's not Hydra as an organization is genuinely interesting. Everyone loops them in with the Nazis because, well, that's the organization they attach to. It is like, as what was his name? Was it Schmidt? In Winter Soldier. No, Schmidt was Red Skull, or Schmidt was Red Skull. It was the other. It was the guy in the computer, the guy played by Toby Jones, I think. No, with Toby something. I'm trying to I'm I'm trying to where was that Winter Soldier? Where's where's I'm trying to find the I'm trying to find the movie. Well, we're here. Well, we're here. Anyway, but I'm trying to remember the character's name. But like Hydra as an organization, lore wise, in the MCU is genuinely really interesting because they were this whole cult thing, kind of like the real life Illuminati or the Fool Society, which is fascinating enough. Like if you're into conspiracy fiction in real life, in real life, the Fool Society and the Illuminati were a real thing. The Fool Society later developed into like they would later be absorbed into the Waffen SS in real life, just like Hydra became a Nazi organization, despite being an independent group in Marvel. And the entire idea of all these like all these scientists, all these like underground Hydra and Nazi scientists going underground, like going into both the US and the Soviet Union, because Hydra, kind of like in Call of Duty Black Ops, as you can like, despite me not playing COD as often, I like Black Ops lore a lot. Hydra, like a lot of Hydra's lore doesn't matter if he seems to be reformed and free. I don't think they would allow him anywhere near a power or a job with security clearance. Yeah, Bucky, like honestly, for his character, Bucky would likely end up as some kind of vigilante or even like an independent mercenary. Like if you're familiar with Big Boss from Metal Gear, or a Big Boss from Metal Gear, Bucky seems like the kind of guy who would end up following his route. He's not like, yeah, he's got all these skills as like a secret agent and an assassin, but he's not allowed near anywhere like anything because everyone knows who he is. So he forms this sort of independent mercenary company. I guess in a way, ideally his character would be a leader of this new group. He wouldn't like in a sort of Avengers without superheroes. He would be trying to keep up with the work that the Avengers and Stark Industries created independently as an armed force, like reacting to all these situations, like global the GRC. Okay, the Global Repatriation Council in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like it, like in a way, if he was given an actual position, he would likely be the commander of its armed forces if it wasn't given to John Walker. Bro, Bucky being a Big Boss MCU equivalent, it would go so fucking hard, man. I'm not familiar how it was in the original. In the original, where's that? Um, where I'm trying to find the actual movie page. The actual movie. Yeah, there we go. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. What was his name? Um, Toby. Toby Jones. No, Toby Jones. Yeah, Arnim Zola. Zola was his name. Of the idea of him kind of going underground the same way Steiner did in Call of Duty Black Ops is something I find interesting. If you couldn't tell, most of my interest in the MCU isn't actually. Most of my interest in the MCU isn't necessarily as much the superheroes. Like I guess superpowers are interesting as a concept, but I'm not in it because of the superheroes. More like I'm here because of the interesting characters on the sidelines as a result of it. I mean, like I would, I really need to watch Agents of Shield. I should probably watch Agents of Shield because that's kind of, yeah. Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 were goated. I gotta play Black Ops 3. I need to see what in the Tenet mindfuckery this game is. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Black Ops 3 campaign wise because having watched a campaign playthrough, I just didn't like the aesthetics. It was one of those times when Call of Duty leaned into the cyberpunk aspects, similar with Advanced Warfare, and while it did well with ghosts, I don't like Black Ops 3 aesthetically and store wise and and lore wise and like story and lore wise. You would probably like the Netflix Daredevil then. Yeah, I might. I think I might like I might like Punisher because I know Punisher is like he gets his own series. John Bernthal's Punisher with Netflix, and I know it's part of the MCU technically. But overall, um, oh, like as you can probably tell, most of my interests are in the super soldier lore of the MCU of these various organizations and these conspiracy like espionage fiction. Y'all know I'm big into James Bond and like spy fiction, and this is essentially that. This is most of the Captain America stories are either war stories or elements of espionage and conspiracy fiction, and that is something I really appreciate, which is why besides like I guess the patriotism attached to the character is why I enjoyed Captain America's movie so much. And I guess as a sideline because I mentioned Metal Gear, Captain America the Winter Soldier, the plot was like it might have been inspired by comics. Oh yeah, yeah, several critics have drawn comparisons to Winter Soldier and the Metal Gear Solid video game series. Gamerangs compared the film to Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, saying that the first half of the Winter Soldier, yeah, it's because they stole the tanker incident word for word, for the Lemurian Star. The Lemurian Star mission in Winter Soldier is copied were like shot for shot for shot for shot from the tanker incident from Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, which by the way is in my opinion the best Metal Gear game, even compared to 3 and 1 and 5. That's the best one to me. Yeah, yeah, overall, yeah, Kurt Hansen and Marvel rivals Bucky share a VA, huh? Anyway, going into that, I really like that, but like it's funny how they stole this wholesale from Kojima, and that's why even though I consider Kojima a hack, like from time to time, Winter Soldier was plainly like for a while until Civil War objectively the best MCU movie overall. Maybe it's because like I like it's closest to a pure action movie. It's all this technology. There's like Cap is technically the only one with superpowers. Cap and Bucky are the only one with superpowers because they have the super soldier serum, but like and they're the only ones present, and for the most part it's just normal people fighting in this sort of heavily dramatized world, which is why and that's the reason why I come to the MCU. Funny enough, I like the more ground level plots. I don't like this whole everything falls apart unless we the whole save the world plot where where the state or save the multiverse plot where the stakes are stupidly high. I like a build up, which is I guess the same reason why I like so many No Way Home was emotional for different reasons, but Far From Home and Homecoming on their own as Spider-Man movies were pretty good just because I like the ground level focus. And that's what I like from my MCU movies. I like a ground level focus, which is why I like Iron Man, which is why I like Captain America, which is why I like those movies. Like not to get too wild. It's something like think like they're fighting things we can comprehend, things like very real like it's superheroes fighting real world threats, which is I guess my investment, my stake in the MCU. Wait, what? I need to see that. See it, guys. I need to see it. Exactly. I like the small stake stories. Isn't it a good movie outside of it being a superhero MCU movie? Yeah, it just genuinely is. But enough about that. Going into why I was here, and just talk about John Walker specifically. Falcon and Winter Soldier, leaving from Endgame. these two characters, as you can tell from my admiration for the Winter Soldier and Civil War, Falcon and Winter Soldier were my two favorite were purely my two favorite characters in the entire MCU up until at least this point. And so I was hooked at the moment I was hooked on the moment they announced it. I was very hyped. I was very interested because they had some level of animosity during during the events of Civil War because they weren't interested. They were because they're like Bucky has just like gone out of his brain while he's being rehabilitated. He's finding his old self again. He's still hostile to people, and Sam trusts Cap, but he's distrustful of Bucky because they've literally tried to kill each other before and all that. And they had an interesting dynamic, and the idea of them working together as the remnants of Captain America's legacy to continue fighting this new world situation was interesting. This show was a letdown. This show was it has its highs and lows. I there were moments that I liked. Again, it is rare when you get to see ironic that this guy watches superhero movies for the gunfights, but that's me. I watch superhero movies for the gunfights, and this delivered at least a couple times. Sometimes it just didn't satisfy. But the Madripoor scenes here were which is like this sort of parody of Singapore, where it's like an anarcho-capitalist, this anarcho-capitalist's like super Somalia, where everyone like everything is legal, and they go here to like it's like John Wick, where they go to the Continental, but the Continental is an entire island. It's interesting. It's really cool, and a lot of that lore was wasted by purely like a lot of this genuinely interesting Marvel lore was wasted on what is just was some of the worst scripts around. It's not as bad as I guess like Loki and a lot of the and Loki and WandaVision and all the other like MCU stuff. It wasn't as bad as that, but overall, this was still like the writers, the right the I maintain John Walker as a character was written as the best character in the MCU entirely by accident. They did not want this guy to be liked and compelled as much as they did, but it was entirely on accident. Because the writers were so out of touch of their audience that they didn't understand how to make a character like they didn't understand that they were making the literal antagonist sympathetic all the while they were writing like I remember what overall the criticism. If you know what happens, initially when John Walker is made Captain America, yeah, Ultron is fucking cool though. He spent 5 minutes on the internet and decided to exterminate the human race. I feel like he was mostly supposed to be this whole like precursor to Thanos as this existential threat. Anyway, overall, why like they set up this character to be like so damn cool where if you look away from the way the characters are framing him, we mostly see him through Bucky and Sam's eyes, and that being jealousy, envy. He gets the shield, why can't I have the shield? He doesn't deserve like this whole like prejudice where both of them believe he isn't good enough to be Captain America simply because he isn't Steve Rogers. And that's true. He isn't Steve Rogers. He plainly isn't as good as Steve Rogers, but out of character wise, I find Walker to be just this deeply and compelling and interesting character. I don't know, it's a little gay to call someone your comfort character, but I guess in a way, he was literally me. He was literally me. As I said here, I'm literally a brown Asian, and the fact that a troubled and insecure white veteran is still the most relatable character in the entire MCU says a lot about Walker. By the way, he's played by Wyatt Russell, who I found out recently is Kurt Russell's son. This is fucking Snake Plissken over here. Like, everyone knows who fucking Kurt Russell is. And I got the thought, like if he wasn't already playing U.S. Agent, if he cut the beard, he could convincingly probably play Liquid Snake if they ever because for the whole Metal Gear thing, tying back to the Metal Gear thing, he would be pretty interesting if he could do a British accent and cut the beard. He could be a pretty good Liquid Snake, I would say. He would make an interesting liquid snake, especially since we got the model for Solid Snake as his dad, or the Solid Snake and Naked Snake as his dad. But overall, going back to the character itself, he's presented as a sort of like super soldier without the powers, and the character itself, yeah, a highly decorated U.S. Army captain in the 75th Ranger Regiment. So he's a U.S. Army Ranger. He's light infantry. He's used to working on his own. He's used to working entirely on his own, like away from vehicles, supported only by the stuff that he has on his back. So he's light infantry and so, light infantry. So which means he has to carry his own equipment, and the first person in history to receive the Medal of Honor 3 times for his combat service. Something that in real life, from what I remember, in real life, no one has won the Medal of Honor twice. Big Chungus is the dominant meme. The flag smashers are selfish terrorists and nothing more. Yeah, I'll get into that for a second, but let me glaze my boy here. Let me glaze my brother here. Let me glaze my man. Let me glaze my man. So, like, looking at him on paper, genuinely, he is he is probably the perfect candidate to be Captain America. He doesn't have the serum. He isn't like, he starts off, he gets a super soldier serum later, but not officially. But he starts off as just this normal guy. He's just a guy. He's literally just a regular ass motherfucker who put on the Captain America costume and got the shield. He isn't anyone, he's no one special. And that's the point. Bucky and Sam hate him because he's not Steve Rogers, because he's no one special. But that's why I admire him, because he's nothing special. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. And that's despite that, if this world didn't have any superheroes, if the world didn't have superheroes, he would have been the most famous soldier of all time, because no one wins the Medal of Honor 3 times. This is already there are legends about Mac V Song people who earned one Medal of Honor, or people in Vietnam that earned a single Medal of Honor for their service, or Medal of Honor recipient. If you follow gun culture, or the U.S. military culture or history, you'll be aware that no one this is the idea of someone getting what is considered the highest sacrifice, the medal that represents the highest sacrifice, is extremely rare. And again, in a world without superheroes, he would be he would be one of the most legendary people in history. But since we have this world full of superheroes, he feels like a nobody, and he is willing to feel like a nobody because he knows he is one, and he accepts that. He accepts it with a lot of humility. He isn't trying to be, he isn't he is at times a bit of a bragger, a little bit boastful, but he has to maintain his own confidence, because he has to remind himself, this is the role I have to play, this is the role that I accepted. Overall, he starts off as a nobody, and he's already Cap only got good with his shield after the serum. John Walker didn't even need the serum to master the shield. Overall, he was already used to the shield, and during training, he already trained with the shield, and he didn't even need the serum, which is just wild to me. It was interesting, because overall, I didn't think anyone could really handle the shield without the serum. We are leaving Job in Big 2025. Yeah, there are portrayed as misunderstood, sympathetic underdogs. I'll get to why the Flag Smashers are assholes in a second, but let me glaze my man. Overall, yeah, the idea of this sort of, they just made a normal ass guy as Captain America for all that it's worth. Of course, he's in peak physical condition, all that, but he's still just a guy who, under normal circumstances, didn't need the serum. But the way, look, I get that they're portraying Sam and Bucky as imperfect people is the point of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but they could have they were supposed to grow as characters. They were like, and overall, like U.S. Agent of Walker was presented initially as being annoying, being like were presented from things from their point of view where they're put off by him, but it's not even his fault. He's literally he just keeps trying to help them every single time, and yeah, he can be a little bit annoying from their perspective, but he's just a guy who's trying to do his job. He is doing favors for people who hate him and have impeded his own combat mission multiple times. Like they shouldn't even be on the job. Like even though they're operating as like independent superheroes, he's allowing them to work with him as combat advisors, which is like an honor they should be accepting. And like he was hoping to learn from them, but instead these like Bucky and Sam as these utter assholes, like these like selfish pricks and like with poles up their asses, keep pushing him aside and bullying him, and like frequently they refuse to their constant refusal to take him seriously throughout the entirety of this show is just infuriating if you watch it back to back and you think from his perspective. I am putting my ass on the line for them every single time. Whenever they get in trouble with my commanding officer, I'm the one standing up for them because I feel like I need them, because I feel like I need their respect. And none of the respect is reciprocated towards him. Of course he's going to be mentally unstable. Of course he's going to be like driven to, and he goes against his better judgments to work with Sam and Bucky's plan multiple times when they try and arrest Carly, who's the leader of the Flag Smashers. Where they, of course, this has been talked about in video essay after video essay after video essay. But speaking as someone who watched the show in full and still has fresh memories, like yeah, it was a while ago, but I still have some pretty solid memories of the thing. This whole like of Bucky and Sam just constantly treating him like shit, like despite his constant attempts to like make himself useful to them, like against his better judgment. Yeah, when they tried to arrest Carly, yeah, welcome. My first message, what I said, Patriot bad, anarchist terrorist good. Why? Welcome to YouTube where half the time your messages don't send. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Carly, like, when they go to arrest Carly, who I just fucking hate as a character, I'm glad she died at the end, but I wish she wasn't turned into this sickening martyr. Over, like, when they attempt to arrest Carly at the funeral, like, he goes along with the plan, and when he sees, like, against his own better judgment, he's forced to go along with it, and when it doesn't comply, in order to take down this violent terrorist who has killed hundreds of people before, hundreds of refugees in refugee camps, again they're like portraying these communists, these literal like communist anarchists. Like the Flag Smashers are essentially anarcho-communists, who are literally mass murdering refugees for whatever reason as the heroes for some reason, which is like their stand against the GRC. Which normally, it's interesting because they could have portrayed the GRC as this sort of there was an opportunity in this show to portray the Global Repatriation Council as this sort of as an organization that is fundamentally overstepping their bounds, that is this sort of unregulated UN organization that is enriching the politicians and the senators that is propping it up. Like, that would have been interesting political commentary, because it reveals how even like charitable NGOs and even like refugee organizations are taking advantage of the people they claim to be protecting in order to enrich themselves and spread corruption and crime throughout the world, and is even pushing refugees into areas they shouldn't be. If they're using, like, what if the GRC was secretly trying to alienate what if the GRC was secretly trying to alienate force out existing populations in order to house people from disaffected from the blip? What if the GRC was trying to what if the flag What if they were secretly funneling money into the like or someone on the inside was secretly funneling money into the Flag Smashers in order to make themselves more to make them seem more legitimate overall. Like there could have been so many different ways that this could have gone, but it's just the lack of a compelling antagonist just strikes me overall. I can fix them. No, you can't. Okay, okay, okay. You're not. You're not. You're okay. She has some nice tits. Okay, but she was ugly as hell in this show. Genuinely, like she wasn't. She was ugly as hell in this show. Overall, but yeah, this lack of foresight from the actual writers and this extra emphasis on U.S. Agent Bad, the Bucky and Sam Good, despite being massive pricks. And he like going back to Walker as a character. At some point, he is at wit's end. He is at wit's end. Yeah, I got in an argument here. Yeah, and that whole thing. I'll get to that in a second. Um, in universe, why would you want to return the world to pre everyone coming back? Because, well, you see, I think something that was overlooked with the Flag Smashers. Well, I guess I'll cover them now. Something that was overlooked. Oh, excuse me. Something that I feel was severely overlooked with the plot of Falcon and Winter Soldier is because the Flag Smashers are explicitly fighting because they considered the blip the post blip world the post snap world a paradise. Yeah, the blip is a major fictional event, also known as the snap. So it's chosen at random because all the people that disappeared because they had the extra resources, they were literally like the Flag Smashers are fucking squatters. They are literally the violent squatters rights people because they could go into anyone's houses and take what they needed and no one was enforcing anything because they could take advantage of the anarchy. They wanted to restore that anarchy because there wasn't anyone to stop them. They felt like they could have created the perfect society in what they saw as a post-scarcity world because all these people were vanished, all these people were killed, all these people were vanished, and like it's legitimately uh it was legitimately they're fighting for something legitimately evil, and they're trying to make them sympathetic so we can see their point of view. But this doesn't change that what they are fighting for is objectively evil. They want to enact while they're ultimately not doing that because they don't have the resources. Their end final goal is to enact genocide, at least to the point where to a point like this Malthusian, they call this because of the writing of Malthus, which is this real life person who said that population control needs to occur in order people shouldn't be born or people need to be killed in order for the remaining population to survive, needs the many, like communist shit kind of thing. Ironic because he was supposed to be a Christian minister, but he was advocating for the death of people. And it was which is why anyone who quotes Malthus is not a good person. And I know we're going into philosophy and shit like that. Anyone who quotes the entire philosophy behind Thanos is Malthusian. Where's that? Yeah, the motivations led by 18th century scholar and economist Thomas Malthus. An essay on the principle of population. If the population grew much faster than their food sources, if growth remained unchecked, growth remained unchecked, it would eventually lead to societal collapse. This is the basis of the sort of hyper Malthusian ideology is essentially what the Flag Smashers are perpetuating with a side of anarcho-communism because there wasn't anyone to enforce the borders, there wasn't anyone to enforce the security of the nations. For those 5 years, the world was a living hell, but no one was willing to stop them because no one had the capacity or the manpower to. No one was willing to stop them because, and like the Flag Smashers essentially lived as they pleased, from what I remember, and they want to return. And like when everyone came back, suddenly the dream anarcho-communist society they wanted wasn't viable anymore because no one could stop them from simply stealing and taking and pillaging what they needed. And that's why they're fighting back against the GRC, because they see that as the organization that is trying to stamp out their role in the world. And overall, like, they would make for pretty compelling antagonists if they were played great as antagonists, instead of trying to make them these whiny, like, well, sympathetic, oh, woe is me, I'm just a kid activist, I'm totally, like, ignore that I'm literally killing innocent people and murdering refugees. Why were they doing that? It goes directly against their own ideology. Normally, like in some cases they help the refugees, in some cases they don't. It goes against their own ideology. But overall, with this story, I don't like any of them. Can I say? Can I say? Can I? Can I? Well, where is that? Where was I? Where did I put that? Like, Nico, who's not shown in frame, all that blood on the shield deserved to be on that shield because Nico, the guy that he kills in this scene, had it fucking coming. He was complicit in the bombings of hundreds, like the deaths of tens, if not dozens, if not hundreds of people. And like, he got his end rightfully at the hands of Walker's Captain America. He got what was fucking coming to him, man. And I'll talk about that scene in a bit, but going back, like, that's my spiel on, like, I don't like Carly. I think I think she just should have, like, I'm glad Sharon Carter shot her in the head at the end of the series. I don't like how she was turned into this ridiculous, like, absolutely ridiculous excuse of a martyr. But yeah, overall, yeah, that, like, total squatter death. You, like, hunt down the squatters. Kill total squatter death. Get rid of the squatters. It's not your property. It's the owners. He protected America and killed for his best friend, which he did. He was a brave American hero. In this house, John Walker is a hero. End of story. Overall, going back to Walker as a character, it's because, okay, because he is, by act, like, going into the, like, writer's intentions aside, the character of U.S. Agent, overall, the character of U.S. Agent, he is, or John Walker, as he is, like, I'm aware he's different in the comics, but he's like he represents. He was chud coded from the start. Of course, I don't think the word was widespread back then. The writers intended him to represent the sort of, even though he's not, even though, like, politically he seems to be pretty progressive, he's not. He's he is meant to be the chud. He is meant to be the reactionary, the person, like the person who likes the world the way it is and is fighting to keep it. He is, like, who, not necessarily rooting for societal change. He is fighting for, at least for peace, for stability. But he's a reactionary. He's fighting against so-called progress because he recognizes that progress is hurting people. And I guess in that way, the writers conceived of him as someone bad because only right-wingers or whatever impede progress, because that would be bad. Like, it's obvious he was written as a stand-in for the evil white man. Ooh, he's the evil white man. He's the evil white military man. He's got blonde hair and blue eyes. That means he's evil. He looks like a Nazi. Ignore that Steve Rogers also had blonde hair. Was also, like, by their definition, an Aryan specimen or whatever. But he was like, but this whole, like, this whole big military white guy, he's supposed to be the evil one because he's X and X and X and X. It's obvious that he was like, and by doing that, entirely by accident, they wrote him into this very this very like Lumar calls it correctly a sympathetic straw man. This is why he called it a sympathetic straw man. This sort of parody of the people they wanted to attack in their audience, but by accident they made him deeply sympathetic and like gave a lot of people the chance to have a lot of empathy for this character. And like I guess the most ironic part, they had like a certain kind of person in mind because he represents insecurity, not just like the chud or reactionary mindset. He represents insecurity. Yeah, I don't care how much Hollywood pushes it. I'm not gonna stop being a patriot. Based, God bless America and no one else. That kind of mentality. Because overall, like, I guess that the irony of like an Asian guy like me saying that. But I love my country, and then I love this country. I've lived for this country, and I plan to die for this country. But yeah, overall, like U.S. Agent as a character, he as Walker represents insecurity, and the writers wanted to mock that. They wanted to mock masculine insecurity, male insecurity, this sort of feeling that they'd never be better, because they wanted to drive home the fact that he would never be better than Steve Rogers, because this sort of like, but again, he doesn't even need the serum, and he's already an accomplished, like he's already an accomplished soldier that doesn't necessarily need the serum, because like he's a survivor of modern war. He's done all these tours of duty. He's a career soldier. He's suffered through, like, he's like premier special forces. He's not a tier 1, but he is a ranger, which means he's basically self-sufficient as a soldier. He doesn't need this support network like a lot of special forces do. And like they put this big military man, and they made him vulnerable. They made him fail all the time, because like despite all his grand achievements in the past, because like he's still struggling to fight against the Flag Smasher super soldier. He's fighting against the fucking, I don't want to talk about the fucking Wakandan presence here, but the Wakandans are not right in this. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like the Wakandans show up to like capture Zemo for some reason, and it doesn't even make sense within the story. And like, but Walker gets his ass beat by two of the what is it, the Dora Milaje, the Wakandan Royal Guard. Why they were there, I don't fucking know. They didn't deserve to be there. They didn't need to be there, but they made him get beat up by these two women because they hate the character. But overall, like his sort of deeply, this sort of deeply, what would I call it? Yeah. I live and die for Michigan. Shut up, man. Shut up. Shut up, Michigander. Or Sax.png. I mean, the insecurity could work as he has big shoes to fill being the Shadow of Steve. Yet that's the thing. That's the issue. The writers intended for his they wanted to make an insecure character in order to mock him. Instead, they made him interesting. They made him sympathetic. They made him cool, but making him this deeply flawed and insecure man who is on the brink of his own sanity, just trying to put things together, and all in all, like they portray him taking the super, like, because in the show they were able to steal one of the Captain America super soldier serums from the Flag Smashers for some fucking reason, and he was able to again, he started off as a regular guy. He becomes a super soldier in the show, and because he takes the serum, like they present him taking the super soldier serum as a sort of deeply selfish act. Oh, he only wants power. Oh, he's violent and he wants revenge. Well, the issue being he's not winning any of his fights. And he understands that. He understands his own weaknesses. He hates his own weaknesses, but he understands that he has weaknesses, and like just as any military man would do. And bear in mind, a lot of real life special forces guys take steroids in real life. and take anabolic steroids. This is like no different. He is leveling the playing field. He needs a leg up. He is desperate for a Hail Mary pass, and that super soldier serum was his Hail Mary pass. That was his like he desperately needed a capability advantage, and he got that capability advantage. And like for fighting them equally instead of at a disadvantage, they treat him like shit, or they treat him so selfishly. Or like even when he genuinely isn't, he's doing this better protect himself and Lamar. And he's doing this to better protect himself and Lamar. Why, despite being a hyper advanced civilization, Wakanda doesn't have a modern army, uses rhinos as military vehicles, and still uses spears? What do they mean by this? There was a video from a long time ago that I really like about this like African guy who was explaining how Wakanda was, despite all the intentions and the worship from it, Wakanda is really like a really racist stereotype in sub-Saharan Africa that takes no actual care for the culture, like for the cultures involved. That even the most one of the things that he mentioned was even the most powerful militaries in Africa are fully aware the technical and the Kalash and the AK are far better weapons than spears and rhinos, because that's the damn truth. Because as they should, I have I have a whole list of issues that I have with Wakanda, especially as its portrayal in the MCU. Ironic because I did see Black Panther in theaters. It wasn't very good. It had its cool moments, but it wasn't very good. But it wasn't very but and all that. But that's for another time. That's for another time. Something that I'm not willing to discuss now, like to elaborate on now. But like I guess but again, going back to Walker, he is like by accident they wrote a Byronic hero. This is the ideal, like what I consider personally the ideal protagonist of if you want to make an anti-hero or flawed protagonist and give him a hero's journey, this is the perfect starting point. Historian and critic Lord Macaulay described the character as as a man proud, moody, cynical, with defiance in his brow and misery in his heart, the scorner of his kind, implacable in revenge, yet capable of deep and strong affection. But the Byronic, like he is in essence the MCU's Byronic anti-hero, and that symbol of insecurity made him immensely relatable. And I remember when I was watching the show, I initially regarded him, oh, he's kind of like, he's trying his best, but like, I know he's trying his best, but he's kind of annoying. And I know the show is going to unfairly set him up as the villain for some political reason. And when, like, that process in which he took the super soldier serum, I completely understood him. I was in his place before. I've been insecure. It's an emotion that I felt constantly throughout a lot of my life, even now, and that's why that's why I still consider him a literally me. He is the ideal like Byronic anti-hero. He is. Yeah, the showrunners took it for granted that he's an asshole and they forgot to make him one. MCU John is a good man and wants to be friends. He was the intended to be the bad guy. But he just came off as one of us, one of the people. He's just a man. He does what he can. Don't put the blame on him. Don't put the blame on him, as the song would go. And they should have the Wakandan army look like ODSTs. Well, it depends on like I guess your tastes. But overall, I guess like with this sort of character, and it's interesting that like in some cases it feels like they were intentionally trying to make him sympathetic, and there was this internal war in the writers room whether we should make him a sympathetic character or we should make him irredeemable, because the ending, like of course they robbed they kept fucking him over in order to show up, like to give Sam the spotlight in the ending of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier of the episodes. Oh yeah, one world, one people. Like, but there was this scene. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna check it out. I'm like I wasn't going to play any clips from the show. I guess this is the one that I can. This this scene resonated with me, and I really I just I enjoyed this scene because like in any like and the irony is for all the scorn that he got with like, oh, he doesn't deserve the shield, oh, you shouldn't have the shield because you killed someone with it. By the way, Nico was, you know what, I'm gonna cover that scene now. I'm gonna cover that scene now. um this scene in which he's chasing down Nico and he kills him, it like should he have done that? In honesty, he probably, like, even minus the stupid, like the really stupid framing of the show, he probably shouldn't. Ethically, he was in the right because Nico was endangering the lives of civilians everywhere. He already tried to kill him once, so it's natural that you, if someone tries to shoot you or stab you once, you have the right to shoot him back. But overall, and you have to remember, Captain America is not a cop. He is a soldier. And soldiers kill in this scene. Soldiers kill. That's part of their job. He has to do that. I think he should have taken him prisoner? Yeah, he should. Like, that's what, to be fair, that's what Steve Rogers would have done. But he's not Steve Rogers, and in that moment, you can't blame him at all. Like, yeah, was it technically the wrong thing to do? Like, morally, yes, but I can't blame him. I can't blame him. The man has just there wasn't I'm not gonna hold it over his head the way like all these brain dead MCU fans that actually that played that for all their talk of media literacy, they can't understand that he is in, for all the framing of the show, he is still the good guy even with all the killing, because he was in the right the entire time. They he just saw this man be complete, the guy that he killed be complicit. This guy, he saw this guy be complicit in the death of his friend, in the death of his battle buddy, and he just, yeah, he has every right to retaliate. He has every right to retaliate. Morally, as the whole, in the grand scheme of things, should he have killed him? Or for the mission, should he have killed him? No, but it made sense in that moment. I'm not gonna hold it over his head. I understand the reason why he did that. And my only problem with this scene, isn't that he killed it, isn't necessarily that he killed him. He should have broke down and cried at this scene because because this was catharsis. He shouldn't have. They invented this shot. It goes hard or not, it didn't fit the character. With the rush of emotions that he had after trying to get revenge for Lamar's death and the whole serum still in his body, he should have broke down there. He should have knelt down and started he should have, if I was shooting this scene, instead of standing tall here, after killing Nico, he would have shoved the body to the side, dropped the shield, and sat down and just and silently broke down into his mind. He just sat down. He just sat down and he stared. He doesn't care that there's blood on the shield. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that he just killed a man. He just has these rush of emotions that he has to process, that he has to try and contemplate barely, because he is still recovering from the death of his battle buddy and the only person that is that has really cared about him besides his wife throughout most of his life. He lost the guy that he could rely on, and that he could rely on. He failed to protect the person he needed to protect, and let him have his moment of sorrow. Let him cry, man. Let him suffer in his silence instead of trying to prop him up, instead of propping up the character into this sort of, ooh, I'm such a monster, I killed the guy. And that's what I would have done with the character. That I would have explored that emotion. And that's why at the end of the day, I admire, I like the character and even look up the character despite his flaws, because he is emotional. He is he's Minhara. He's like me. He's he's not mentally all there, but he's trying his best to get through the day by the day, for the day. And overall, his reaction here is something I observed. John Walker is what would happen if you took a soldier who fought in the global war on terror, or the current day like war on terrorism, and made him Captain America. He fails, he falters, he regularly makes mistakes. He's violent because not killing first means that his brother doesn't go home. And because he didn't kill the Flag Smashers in the building, his brother didn't go home. That's simply that, and that's the simple truth of it. If he didn't kill he should have killed Carly and Nico in the building, but not just like ending their threat, but Lamar would still be alive if he had just killed them in the building, or if he had killed them or captured them in the building. Lamar would still be alive, and like his hesitation with killing them might have been his real mistake, because he was hesitant. He was trying to control himself, and when Lamar died, he couldn't control himself anymore. And that's something I find just immensely sympathetic. We've all had our moments where our emotional outbursts. If you saw your friend get mercilessly murdered in the field, and you're chasing down the guy who just killed him, would you not want to avenge him? Would you not want to have your revenge for like the horrible thing, for the things that they did to your friend, for the person that you were relying on, the person that you were supposed to protect? Yeah, okay, dang, I'm late. Yeah, total Flag Smasher death. The character assassination Bucky and Sam suffered in the show pisses me off mighty. Again, I really, really liked these two characters. Like Bucky and Sam were straight up my favorite characters in the entire MCU, because they were just compelling characters, but they ruined them, and they're going to continue to ruin them, unfortunately, if this goes on. Hopefully, Thunderbolt, like Bucky and Walker and Thunderbolts gets a rewrite, and they instead of making them an asshole, they make him the true heroes, like the long-suffering heroes that they need to be. Like, in Thunderbolts, I fucking want Bucky to apologize to Walker for the things he did to him. Yeah, I'm here for the action, I'm here for the cool shit, like the gunfights and all. But if there was any character emotion that I wanted, it would be Bucky apologizing to Walker and making his peace with him, even if Sam couldn't, and like being the bigger man, and letting both of them be the bigger person as a result. Overall, this is why I really admire why I like the character of Walker, and because he is human, he is only human, and he treads the line in between this, because Steve Rogers is this sort of impossible paragon. He's like Superman, right? Of course, they have wildly different powers, but Captain America and Superman are kind of like the same character deep down. They're like these ultimate ideals of what an American man should be, the sort of ultimate aspirational ideal of like the greatest a person can ever be. Like, that's why I put Superman and Captain America in the similar category as characters, despite them having wildly different backstories and powers. Walker is not that. Walker is the everyman. Walker is again, if you took a random guy off the street, the everyday Joe, gave him the Captain America shield and told him to be the best that he can, he's gonna try the best that he can. He's gonna fail because he's not this pure paragon of justice that Rogers is. He's emotional. He has a dark side, but he's not fully evil because he wants to do the right thing and he strives to do the right thing. And that is still the model. Is that still not the model character that you want to emulate? He has his flaws. I have my flaws. He has his sins. I have my sins. But I still want to become a better person, and so does he. And that's why he's my favorite character in the MCU. Overall, yeah, he was trying to be a hero that didn't kill people, and it cost him his best friend. Overall, I wish they explored this sort of darker but still a good guy Cap as a character. One of my favorite parts of Walker being Captain America is they gave him his gun back. They give him his 1911 back. Well, in the show, it's a staccato Perfect 10. They don't make them anymore. It's like this high-end 2011, this high-end 10mm 2011, which I should say fits the character to a T. He's supposed to be Captain America, but high-tech, but traditional, and giving him a 2011, an upgraded 1911 as a gun is possibly the best, one of the coolest aesthetic decisions they could have made. But speaking of weapons, this scene, this scene, I just really enjoy because when Bucky and Sam,
Out
when
onto the wall.
when Bucky and Sam broke him, or when Bucky and Sam went up against Walker, they broke his arm, they stole the shield, and all that and all that because overall, yeah, the two best friends of Steve Rogers becoming assholes that bully an unpowered guy makes total sense. Again, like Cielo Jose, something that was pointed out by Lumar, I think, is that Falcon Sam, he's literally a PTSD, like he's literally a military trauma counselor. He works with people with PTSD and tries to like get them like help them and make them a little bit better and get their emotions on track. And what does he do to a PTSD riddled like a PTSD riddled veteran who is clearly depressed, clearly unstable, and clearly suffering because his best friend was murdered in front of him? What does he do? He fucking tries to kill him multiple times, breaks his arm, and steals his shield and leaves and doesn't even get him medical attention. And they just leave him lying there in a warehouse with a broken arm to suffer and bleed out. Like, yeah, that's surely the act of a hero, Falcon. You don't do like it's a shame because it's out of character for Falcon. The real Falcon would have been happy to help. Would have been happy to help John Walker. He would there's this whole thing that Falcon is the first like one of the few superheroes he kills. Yes, he fights, but he still has empathy for the people he's fighting. Why doesn't any of that show up in his fight against Walker? It doesn't make any sense. What does Bucky, who himself a PTSD riddled veteran, see like when he sees someone who should be his brother, someone he is a mirror image of, suffering in front of him? Oh, he breaks his arm and steals the shield. Like, yeah, what great people you are. Like the writers did it out of hatred for John Walker instead of actually portraying Bucky and Sam as the best people they could be. Instead of portraying these like ideal paragons as the best people they could be, despite their flaws, they instead to make them these selfish asshole pricks with fucking 10-foot poles up their asses because they couldn't comprehend, because they were so sad that John Walker, this regular guy who had to fill the big shoes of Captain America, couldn't be Steve Rogers. It's a shame, man. This show could have been so much better. But I'm like in irony, I am glad for it because we ended up getting the coolest character in the entire MCU. Yeah, total hero behavior. I didn't pay attention when watching, but like at the start of the show with chasing, they slowly walk back to the join the fight where two normal soldiers are trying to fist fight two supers. I feel like it was totally justified for Walker to just pull his like let me get that let me get that part where like Walker just gives up and just shoots a guy. And you know what? This should have been his modus operandi for most of the Flag Smashers. This should have been this should have been Lamar's and Walker's modus operandi throughout the entire point. Just shoot the fuckers. Like they're clearly trying like arrest isn't an option at this point. Just shoot the damn people. Just get it over with. If they pulled their guns more often on the Flag Smashers, it would have it like it would have it would have been better. It would have been better if they just used their guns a lot more often to level the damn playing field, because like for some fucking reason the Flag Smashers refuse to use guns because they're pretentious assholes who think they're good people for not using guns or weapons despite committing bombings that literally kill hundreds of people. I don't know. I don't. The Flag Smashers were terribly written, man. They just weren't. Overall, yeah. Yeah, so they had it messed up from the beginning. Overall, like, yeah. And going back to, speaking of weapons, this scene, but going back to the point where they steal the shield, I feel like it's a greater moment for Walker than Sam and Bucky because if it contextualizes this scene, he doesn't need the shield. He can make his own, he just like going in and making a DIY like shield out of scrap metal. He sacrifices his medals of honor in order to melt them onto the shield. Yeah, on the interior. This is why I have thoughts. Maybe the writers really were trying to make something cool out of him. They put his by putting his medals of honor on the inside of his shield to remind himself why he's here, and in honor of Lamar, instead of on the front, in order to boast that he has those medals. And welding this sheet metal shield is in like this whole makeshift shield. Yeah, where he makes his own. Mm, where he makes his own. It's powerful because it lets him be his own man. It lets him be his own man. Like he doesn't like he went like Walker went from, yeah, he might not be the best Captain America, but at this point he doesn't even need the shield to be Captain America because he has his own. He can work without it. He's good enough on his own. He doesn't like This is where he steps back. He doesn't need assistance from Bucky and Sam anymore, even if they've been like harassing and bullying him throughout the entirety of the series. This is the part where he establishes himself as his own character. And while he does get an upgraded, he'll get an upgraded shield and Thunderbolts, because he'll get an upgraded shield and Thunderbolts. I think it's also made out of vibranium, but it's interesting that they make that play, because I think the regular scrap metal steel shield out of sheet metal is really Walker's best shield, not Steve Rogers' shield, not the new shield that he gets as U.S. agent, but the scrap shield that he uses for the street fight. This is his best shield, not because it has any special properties, but it's emblematic of who he is. And I remember like one of his quotes. I'm not gonna play it directly. That he did during the interview. Yeah, during the interview with this lady, was, I'm not fully Steve Rogers, but what I have is a lot of guts, and I know Steve had a lot of guts as well, which is something that I feel is emblematic of the entire character as a whole. The glowies are monitoring me. He has those guts. He has that he has that grit, that willingness to, like, that true grit, as they say, in order to put everything else behind him and focus on the mission at the cost of himself. That despite, like, no matter how many times he's knocked down, he's gonna get back up, because he has to, because he should, because he can, because he will. That's why I like the character. That's why I'm here to like the character. I'm gonna go through yeah.
Think Lamar's life mattered?
Not to my fight.
And like, it's just, yeah, you mean the black friend that inspired him to take the serum, not for power but to save lives? You mean the black friend? Like, I don't remember them trying to portray him as a racist, but like, we have weird ass MCU fans who keep trying to portray him as like some evil chud. Well, despite him being the good chud. I'm trying to find a specific comment that I made, that was made, where in the process of I'm trying to find it specifically, but I'll post this one. Which is my reflection on the character, which I posted a while ago. I'm gonna pause the BGM for a second. This is from Ahoy, from the M60 machine gun video.
All the misgivings and frustrations pent up over the last decade. The action genre was a Vietnam do-over, a chance to reinvent the hero, where the good guys win by shooting all the bad guys until they die.
And it's that, like, and yeah, some people may like it is admittedly violent. It is admittedly violent. It is admittedly a very violent and a very violent philosophy, but it's one based off of catharsis of a release of a pent up rage after suffering, and I think that's really emblematic of Walker as a character. He's like I said, he is he is a Captain America for the war on terror. He is like he for a new world where he has to fight dirty and he has to fight violently. He has to fight dirty in order to protect himself, the people he cares about, the people he should be protecting. And like there's no room for even faux morale for like hesitation, and sometimes your morality has to be compromised for the greater good, for the right thing. And that symbol of the US, of America, of the post-Vietnam angst is what I really like was with Walker as a symbol of America or the US military. Yeah, Steve Rogers might not be proud of him, but like characters like John Rambo, he's closer to Rambo and these other types of American grittier American heroes. Like I use John Rambo, like Rambo as an example. Walker is if Rambo became Captain America. That sort of suffering that he's been through, that soldiers, the veteran's plight that he has to suffer with, that he has to carry with him throughout his life. That's something a character like John Rambo would have experienced. That's something that he would have carried if he was Captain America. What is Bro, that is awesome. Captain America was totally willing to pull a gun on a windmill wanker. In fact, he did it on screen during the war and against Hydra. Yeah, in First Avenger, he has a 1911, which I think is really, which in my opinion is his best secondary. This is what Captain America should look like: sidearm in hand, shield in the other, and like using the shield as a shield, not just as a not just as like this whole, because in my opinion, yeah, throwing the shield looks cool as hell, but it's also kind of like tactically stupid. And ideally a resulting fighting style for Walker, if he was going to use something gun centric, is like having like stun batons on the shield, having a rifle, and having two pistols, one in conjunction to be used alone, another as a backup behind the shield or holstered on his body, one on the hip, one on the chest, but batons and the shield on his back, as well as the rifle. Rifles for engaging long range, medium range targets, something like in 6.5 Grendel, kind of like to match, because he has 10 millimeter. He wants something more powerful out of a standard assault rifle, so he's gonna get he gets a second one of these, or like some kind of a Colt Delta Elite in 10 millimeter. Something like to stuff in his holster. It's something, or maybe like an SVI Infinity in 10 millimeter stuff to stuff in a holster, to have that fill his other holster. He gets the shield, he gets the batons for up close fighting and for non-lethal. It's this like sort of variable lethality, like how much force he needs to apply to a target at any time, and that would be interesting, because at the very least, where is that Thunderbolts? Thunderbolts. At the very least, unfortunately, they gave him back his 1911. But they gave him also a Glock as well, and I think the shield is really interesting as well. Honestly, like with the whole beard and all of that, the Solid Snake or Big Boss comparisons come naturally, because he looks like. You don't often see bearded soldiers, and the sort of Solid Snake comparisons come naturally. And that's sort of like making him still more gun centric. In some of the trailers for Thunderbolts, he ends up using a rifle, which I mean, which I do think really does fit his character as well. Anyway, going back from that, something that I wanted to look at, something I wanted to find, is in the in Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was a point where, because they focused on the racial issue and political issues raised by Wilson, a black man handed Captain America's shield, because they meet this character Isaiah Bradley, who is like America's second super soldier during the Korean War. but they like treated him badly because he was black, and they like did some unfair experiments on him. Well, to be fair, racist or not, it's the government's fault. It's not America's fault. It's the government's fault. Like they'll like racist or not, they're gonna do experiments on you. They're gonna do terrible things to you. As Wendigoon says, like if you ever say the government wouldn't do that, yes they would, and blame the damn government instead of blaming whites or America as a whole. Like I get it because it was done because of racial reasons, but it should be against the government. But where is that? Um. Yeah, Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, an African American Korean War veteran and super soldier, was imprisoned and experimented on for 30 years. Elijah Richards as Isaiah's grandson Eli Bradley. I'm trying to find the where they explain that having Walker as like to be the one to confront Isaiah over instead of like having like, of course he has his place with talking to Sam about being Captain America, but having Walker talk to him as well would be genuinely interesting. Yeah, I think because the show focuses on race and racism, when you have this new blue-eyed, blonde-haired white guy, ignoring the fact that Steve Rogers was also blue-eyed and blonde hair, oh, he's gonna be white, he's gonna be like a white supremacist or whatever. Didn't watch a show. He killed someone over. Oh, shut up. He's killed someone over his black friend is missing the point of the meme. Yeah, well, the meme doesn't make any sense to begin with. Yeah, you don't think Lamar's life mattered with such rage and conviction. It's the closest thing to... Yeah, kills a terrorist who blew up a factory with workers still inside. You're not Captain America, and the shield is mine, actually. He was literally the only guy doing his job in the entire show. Yeah, and there's my argument with that. Dead internet. Of course, I am, whoa. John, yeah, you got assholes like this making characters like that.
You told me to be and trained me to do, and I did it.
It's still a compelling character. I did mention that I was gonna steal other people's tweets, so I was gonna steal some of other people's tweets, so I'm gonna look in it's not in here. I think it was because they locked the replies because they were getting roasted. They locked the replies because they were getting roasted. Maybe it's in quotes. Yeah, the fact that Carly after using violence. John Walker responds with violence. The fact that a terrorist organization that views violence as its message is horrified when a veteran of war sees innocent people, including his closest friend, perish for no apparent reason is surprised that he responds with violence. The show is dog shit. Yeah, it is. Killed a man after Lamar was killed by Carly. Genuinely cared about Lamar's family. Literally has a black wife and black child. Has never shown any signs of racism. Let's not make shit up for fun. He is like... He's I think his wife is Hispanic. I don't think his wife is black. His wife is Hispanic. You guys he's racist. John Walker in the room with us right now. You know the thing. Oh, someone's downstairs. I gotta yeah, being an MCU stan is funny because you can make shit up and simply equally stupid people will agree with you. His wife is black. Well, from my recollection, she's Hispanic. Yeah. Johnny the racist cat that goes to William Burnside. I'm going to blow up Hoover Dam. Why is he Caesar's Legion from Fallout New Vegas? Oh, shut up. Whatever. John Walker did nothing wrong. There's my argument with with whoever it was. Yeah, they forget that Steve killed people too. But someone mentioned, I'm trying to find it. I want to find it really badly. So it was someone else. Yeah, Punished Jakub. Was it Punished Jakub? Down here, Isaiah Bradley, and the sort of. But someone else tried to who Dora Milaje tried to murder Walker and Lamar, and then said Wakanda's jurisdiction everywhere. Yeah, they weren't supposed to be in the show. If media literacy actually has media literacy, but he looks like Homelander. And he wears the flag and Rand Steve. He must be racist. Yeah, what a bitch. Yeah, Walker and Lamar were the best part of the show. Yeah, well, funny. This loves to talk about Isaiah, a black soldier, got mistreated, and Sam wanted to get justice. Lamar died, and Sam does nothing for him. Nothing, not a thing. While John gave his parents closure. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, John Walker is one of Disney's greatest litmus tests. How close attention people are paying to the narrative, or they're just looking at pretty lights and camera angles. In the context of the show, he's literally the only person following the rules or any logic. They constantly did nothing wrong, but he's punished. But someone, yeah, demonize John Walker as U.S. agent, make fun of his jingoistic, but they forget one of the first Avengers to head to Genosha to stop this X-Men Civil War. These people say the wildest things. Yeah, Sam's whole backstory is he became devastated, leaving the Air Force to become a counselor. He gave John Walker zero latitude or compassion, going through the same thing. And I guess what I was trying to find, because I guess scrolling Twitter can be a little bit dangerous. He also said this. Not my fight. My immediate reaction if I had the shield. Yeah, we wish she was brained by that shield when she came in. When he came. Anyways, but I was trying to find I was trying to find some comment that Isaiah. I want to find it because I want to credit the person who said it, but I can't remember. But someone said, having Cap no, what is it, having, like, if they had Walker meet Isaiah as well as Sam, there would have been like this interesting conflict and like an interesting exploration of his character, because Isaiah would likely hate Sam as Cap, would likely hate Walker as Cap because of like pre-existing prejudices against him for various reasons. And you'd have Walker to try and understand why, because he didn't grow up in the same era that Isaiah Bradley did. He didn't grow up in the he didn't grow up in the same era they did. He didn't experience racism. He isn't even aware of himself being a racist symbol, because his best friends, and he married into a Hispanic family. He's like his best friends are his best friend was black, and something he doesn't understand, something he has to come to terms with. And that could provide a really interesting counterweight, this sort of egalitarian, we are equal, I always believed everyone was equal, why do you keep seeing me as a racist symbol when I've had no hate for anyone like you? And that's sort of making Bradley realize his own faults and his own prejudices, instead making Walker himself doubt his own capability as Cap, while making Isaiah Bradley take a step back and contemplate, am I so right about everything that I preached? Going into the comment sections of these, I might end soon. I've been going on for a while. Hold on. I might have to end soon. Oh. So how long have I been going on? Around an hour. To those uninformed, yeah. Falcon's job before joining the Avengers was working with veterans suffering from PTSD. The way he treated walkers and the showrunners forgot this fact. And John will save Sam's life and gets Bucky out of prison. I hate this guy. Yeah. Pretty wild that Falcon has experience with vets suffering from PTSD and acts like a total asshole towards Walker. It's crazy how they unintentionally wrote an amazing allegory for Vietnam vets, or a lot of veterans really of unpopular wars. Can Walker be Captain America from now on? Bucky should have, like, if they were written better, Bucky should have gotten the shield instead of Sam, because like really it just wasn't well written. I wish they could have written it better. Wow, the evil Captain America killed the defenseless mass murderer. They act like Cap was a saint. He wasn't. He was a soldier. Yeah. Petty jerks angry at John. And all of that. Yeah, I feel it bears mentioning that Steve and John are soldiers, not cops. Their job is to kill, not or detain the enemy. If they wanted to bring in the Flag Smashers alive, they shouldn't send special forces. Yeah, empowered Flag Smasher was killing a grown man with years of training with a single punch. The Flag Smashers always armed and dangerous, even without conventional weapons. Is vibranium, which hasn't spread to the rest of the world. Yeah, like in general, wasn't necessarily the right thing to do. No, but it was like it's understandable. It's understandable. And Eclipse Coin, if you want to see some of the rhetoric that I've been using, that I've been like commonly talking about, Army veteran breaks down John Walker scene. There's this like Army guy and martial artist who was a veteran and had to detain someone during his service, and explaining the rules of engagement throughout. Yeah, I watched that as well. Explaining the rules of engagement and all of that in that process. Take care. Yeah, I'm still willing. I think I'm winding down and finishing up like a bit soon because this was bound to be a shorter kind of stream. The fact that I had some technical issues during the beginning. Yeah, what pisses me off is this Flag Smashers keep wiping the floor with Bucky, Sam, Lamar, and John, all trained, experienced soldiers. Having super soldier serum doesn't automatically give someone incredible fighting skills. It boosts your stamina, strength, and speed. However, he or she would still need training to become an experienced fighter. In the finale, John and Bucky should have eviscerated the Smashers because they were both enhanced and have professional fighting skills. The writers of the show are complete idiots. As a veteran, I related to John Walker more than just about any character in the MCU. He was a guy always wanting to do the right thing, selected for a position he was not sure to take, but he did it for the people to have their symbol. Tried to handle things peacefully and work with Bucky and Falcon. He did nothing but get in the way and talk him down. When his best friend killed in front of him, he reacted the way any warrior would. And the most incredible part is his priority after was to visit his best friend's family and give him his deepest condolences, the way any honorable soldier fighting with his mates would. Yeah, I didn't watch the show yet. It wasn't because I assume the man actually said I am surrender. No one was surrendering. He was still trying to get away. Has a better underdog story than most of the newer characters. The guy isn't charismatic, so he just gets bullied by everyone for not being good enough to them, even though he's doing everything he can to live up to the name, and gets thrown under the bus for doing what he saw as the right thing. Yeah, overall, it's an interesting what I like to talk about. And honestly, like just for the character alone, I am willing to see Thunderbolts because it is my ideal kind of premise. My ideal kind of premise for a hero story. Not super, not heroes, not giving up. I know they're supposed to be like this sort of Suicide Squad stand-in, this Suicide Squad stand-in for Marvel instead of DC. But I'd be happy to see it even if it's not good because it's my favorite characters, and even though I'm not willing to give money to Disney for most of the time, I do want to see this in June 2020. So scheduled to be released in the US on May 2nd, 2025. I might see this for my birthday. I don't know. Yeah, Steve became candidates for Cap after showing he was willing to jump on a nade for his buddies during training. Walker earned 3 medals for willing to risk himself for others in the field. He has he has enough proof for himself. I just, again, stating before, like, as much as I'm here for the action and for the characters, we're seeing the characters. I want them to be character development between Bucky and Walker to make it like the solid and official that they're willing to trust each other instead of this whole since this in this whole like they under like coming to an understanding for each other instead of this whole we hate each other, we have beef with each other or whatever. And overall, Well, yeah, overall, for what very little hype there is for the movie, I am willing to take it. And I think overall, I think that's that. I think I'll end off here. I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Let's see who we can read. Let's see who we can who's going right now. Hina was streaming earlier, which is a big thing. A lot of stuff was happening today, which is a lot of stuff that was like had to take in. Hina from FaZe is back, and which I'm happy to see her again because of like from what little I saw from her, I really enjoyed. I want to see more of her because she has such an interesting personality. Um oh, Kara is active. Ooh, who's what do we do? I think I'll send y'all into Neo. I'll send y'all into Neopolinos. Into Neopolinos. Everyone, so anyways, thank you, Seismech. Thank you, Seismech, for like putting up with me in my early technical difficulties. Thank you, Big Yike. Thank you, Thompson Express. Thank you, Terrible Artists, and thank you, Cielo Jose. I really appreciate all of you coming in. I really appreciate it. It's been great. I won't be doing this next week. I feel like I might withdraw a little bit for the next week because there's some stuff going on. There's a few holidays. It's Easter week next week. I will be back the Monday after Easter and Wednesday. But for the most part next week, I will be off. I won't be streaming. I won't be doing I will be aiming to upload some videos. I will be aiming to get my clips out. So there's that. O2 and one bird goes, another returns. Yeah. Thank you everyone thank you everyone who came. O2 love. I'll put oh Seismech. Hey Seismech, get out of Twitch chat, you turncoat. Anyway, are you multi-streaming, CL Jose? Anyway, Amanda will raid. O2 love, and I'll see you guys next time.